I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and welcome to the second video in the top 100 games of all time as of 2024 series. This is the second video. I already did 100 through 91. You can check out that video already. Some quick recaps on the general notes of how I put together these videos is I take all my games, I completely de-rank them from where I have them all tracked in Notion, then I rank them again, throw them into PubMeeple, which is a ranking engine where you can go ahead and compare and contrast all these different titles to try to find the best order, and then I manually massage it after to make sure that whatever PubMeeple spat out actually aligns with what I think, which is generally pretty good, but I usually do tweak some things around and be like, actually I think that's better than that, and I think that's better than that, and all of that. As usual, this list is based on my top 100 games as of right now. This is not based on the top 100 games of all time that I would give as a recommendation to you based on every single thing possible. It is based on where these games are for me right now, which means that these things will change. Last year the list was different. Next year the list will be different. They'll always change and adjust. They'll usually be pretty solid towards the top half of the list. There'll be some things that push in and out, some things that go down a bit as I play them too much or possibly play them too little, but this is my current favorite 100 games in order as of this moment in time, or technically as of the moment in time that I put the list together, which was, I don't know, a week ago or something like that. Anyways, before we dive into that, if you missed it, I am also currently running a support drive for the channel. I do this every year along with the top 100, so if you are already a member on Patreon or Ko-Fi, thank you. If you're not a member on Patreon or Ko-Fi, anything you can do to help out the channel is much appreciated. I have a video down below where I talk about it, and more importantly, well, not more importantly, also importantly, they are linked to a lot of giveaways of various games. So if you want to win games big or small, or you just want to help out the channel, please check out that video linked down below. And with that, let's go ahead and start off with number 90. Number 90 is technically new to the list, but not actually. It depends how you count it. This is Cuzco over here. Cuzco, previously known as Bora. Cuzco is the Queen Games version of the game, and I think it is better both visually and mechanically. It's just a better version of Bora. You see, the Queen Games City Collection, the Stefan Feld City Collection, is Queen Games taking a bunch of Stefan Feld titles and bringing them back to life. If for the most part, the ones I've played have either been better mechanically or been better visually, but not usually both. Cuzco for me is the one so far, I haven't played all of them, but it's the one so far that is better both mechanically and visually. I prefer this to, well, Bora, and Bora was already a fantastic game. What I love about Bora slash Cuzco, I'm just going to call it Cuzco going forward, what I love about Cuzco is the nature of the dice placement puzzle. You are going to be rolling dice, then using those dice to try to go to various spots, and there's so many things you can do as far as how you can build your engine in different ways, but they all require you to try to figure out the right combination of how you're going to assign your dice. Bigger dice are better, but bigger dice have more restrictions on how you can place them, especially because other players can cut you out. So you do have this little bit of a desiring of large value dice, but also being able to utilize small value dice and finding that perfect combination where you can use them towards the various different pathways, from the various villages you're going to recruit, from the movements along to the priest track. You're trying to combine all these different things to both improve your in-game tableau as well as to try to find those extra points. The game is visually beautiful. Ignore this just plain red box over here. The game is very, very beautifully, just like so many different colors going on. There's so many abilities it's going to have. You're trying to find the right combination of how to build your tracks up. This is a delightful game for Stefan Feld, falls nicely into that midweight Euro genre, and I really enjoy it. That's why it's over here. Our number 89 over here, number 89 is Five Tribes, from Bruno Cathala and Days of Wonder, a game that has truly stood the test of time in my collection. I want to say I got this maybe 2013, maybe 2014, like maybe, but that makes over 10 years in my collection. I can count on a certain number of hands how many games have been in my collection for 10 years. I do wonder how many hands it would take to count how many games in my collection for 10 years. If I had to guess, we're gonna do a guess right now. Maybe we'll come back to this in the future, maybe not. If I had to guess, I would say that there's around 25 games in my collection that have been there for over 10 years. 25, that seems too low. I'm going to go 35. There's 35 games in my collection that have been there for over 10 years. That is not a statement of fact. That is a guess that I will try to validate later. But the point is, games that last that long are rare. It takes a lot for a game to have that level of appeal and not getting old with what it's doing and constantly engaging, and Five Tribes absolutely has that. It doesn't hurt that I have the expansions for this game. I do have both expansions, right? I'm pretty sure I have both expansions. I should probably double check it. I think there was a point in time where I wondered if I was missing an expansion, and I don't remember if I validated whether I was or wasn't. I'll have to check later. Either way, Five Tribes, the Jins of Nagala, is a Mancala style game in which you're going to be trying to move meeples around the board in order to take the action of the color of meeple you drop off on the final spot, as well as the tile you land on has an ability, and you do it based on the strength of the number of meeples of that color in that spot. So it has a Mancala mechanism where you're moving meeples and dropping them off along the way. The combination of the meeple power and the place power results in you trying to do whatever it is you're trying to do, whether it's buying various genies for your improved tableau and all these abilities they're going to earn, whether it's straight up earning points, whether it's gathering marker cards, whether it's earning money, whatever it's doing. There's so many different things you're trying to do, placing little palm trees or castles down on the board. There's so many actions you're trying to balance, and you're trying to make sure that you take the best possible moves while not setting up your opponents for their best possible moves. To that end, it's a delightful experience, not too heavy, not too light, a lot of things to think about and to go through, and I haven't even played with all the content. I know I've played with at least the Artisans of Nagala, is that what it's called? The Artisans of Nagala expansion. I've at least played with that one. I've played with some of the promos and stuff, but I have not played with all the content in the game. It's just a great game. It's a great game, and I recommend you play it when you have a chance. Coming in at number 80, this is 90, 89, 88. Coming in number 88, we have Le Havre. Le Havre from Uwe Rosenberg, which is going to, for funsies, this is going to be one of the other 35 games that I have in my collection for the past 10 years. You see, when I first got into the hobby, it didn't take a lot of time before I started to find Uwe Rosenberg games. I started with Agricola. At the time, it was either the top, it might have been the second highest game. It was up there as far as how highly it was ranked. I tried Agricola, I appreciate it. It wasn't my favorite Uwe Rosenberg game, but I certainly enjoyed it. I tried The Gates of Liang, I tried Le Havre, and Le Havre very quickly became my favorite at the time. It's not my favorite right now, spoilers to the list, but it is still one of my favorite games, and it's a game that consistently gives an excellent experience, a highly variable experience, as you place your people onto buildings, trying to buy various buildings, utilizing the conversions. This game is all about conversion. This game can be called Conversions, the board game. Because what you're doing is you're getting goods, you're trading those goods into other goods, you're trading those goods into other goods, you're using those goods and that steel to go ahead and make boats. The boats are going to help you feed your people. You're also trying to go ahead and get as many buildings as possible, all while you try to go ahead and continue to improve your exports. There's so many ways to get points in this game, but ultimately you're gathering goods, upgrading those goods, using those goods for whatever you need in the game, and trying to do that puzzle a bit more efficiently than your opponents. It is an excellent 2-player game. It's an excellent 3-player game. I don't believe it's an excellent 4-player game. I just don't. I'm sorry. I don't think it's an excellent 4-player game. I think 2 and 3 is where this game caps out as far as the best experience it will give you. More than that just starts adding downtime and less of that interactivity. Well, the interactivity is not meaningful enough in it. I think Le Havre is an excellent Uwe Rosenberg game. Not my favorite, but certainly up there. Coming in at number 87, we have a small box game. I don't think it's been 10 years for this one. I don't think so. How do I even track this? How do I even track how long games in my collection? I don't actually track that, so I'm just going with gut feeling, I guess. But for this one over here, we have Ganz Schön Clever, That's Pretty Clever, which has been in my collection for quite some time, and it's the smallest box we're going to have on the table today. Just today. We'll have smaller boxes in the future. I love small boxes. I love big boxes. I love giant boxes. It honestly is kind of dependent on what the game gives you. In the case of That's Pretty Clever, Ganz Schön Clever, this is one of my favorite roll-and-write games, and has maintained being one of my favorite roll-and-write games, just through the sheer aspect, the sheer delight of rolling various dice, then trying to figure out the right combination of which dice to draft to put those numbers into your board in a way that will result in cascading bonuses that is oh so rewarding. So many games have tried mimicking that concept of those cascading bonuses, and I've enjoyed many of them, but That's Pretty Clever remains one of my favorite ones in the genre. This is the game that's basically what Tapestry is based on. I don't know if it's officially based on it, but I do know that when I play Tapestry, I feel like I'm playing That's Pretty Clever, the board game, as opposed to the roll and write game. That's what Tapestry is. Just fun fact in case you play Tapestry, in case you play That's Pretty Clever. And don't get me wrong, there's room for both. Right now we're talking about this game. That's Pretty Clever plays fairly quickly, gives you a lot of replayability, gives you 5 other versions. There's a kid's version, and then there's 4 That's Pretty Clevers. I have every single one of them, and they are all oh so satisfying as far as the level of chaining bonuses. You see, you're ultimately filling in different sections on your board, but as you earn certain bonuses as you go, it ricochets to other areas of the board to give you these cascading bonuses, which means you go through the game, and you get halfway through the game, and you're like, I'm getting nothing done. This is a stupid, stupid game, and I will never play it again. Then you play the second half of the game, and you're like, oh, this game was so much fun. I'm going to come back. It is addicting, because all these things just exploded from nowhere, and I got all these bonuses, and I went from having basically no points to having so many points. Let me see how I can do it better. And that starts the journey of trying to get 120 points, 170 points, 220 points. Crossing the 300 point number is achievable if you can go ahead and figure out the right ways to combine every single thing. It is a delightful experience, one of my favorite roll and writes with many different offshoots, although this is still my favorite one from this series of That's Pretty Clever games. 90, 89, 88, 87. Number 86 is Again, I don't know how long. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to track. I'm going to have to figure this out another time. Number 86 is another game that's been here for quite some time. This is Carson City from Xavier Georges and Quined Games. Carson City is one of the meanest, that's not true, it is a very mean worker placement game. Not to say one of the meanest, there's meaner worker placement games out there, but it's a worker placement game that's basically across 4 rounds of play, you're building out Carson City. You're going to be trying to buy lots on the board, buy buildings to place in those lots, and then ultimately place your gangsters down on other people's buildings to steal their income in the game. Or alternatively, place your gangster in the worker placement spot that they went to, trying to take their worker placement action. You see, this is a worker placement game, but it's a worker placement game that takes a good old cowboy shootout, a little bit of a duel in the OK Corral, as you try to fight for who's going to get which action in the game. Because a normal worker placement game goes, I go there, I went there before you, I got that spot. Or some worker placement games are, you go there, I go there, this is friendly, we can do what we want. This worker placement game is, I go there, anyone else can follow, but if you do show up, there will be a shootout. And whoever wins the shootout takes that action. Whoever loses the shootout does get their cowboy back for next round, so you don't really lose the action, rather you delay the action, you'll get another action next turn, but that does mean you lose whatever kind of interest effect that the game would have as you build things up. So you do want to weigh up carefully whether it's worth engaging in a fight. Also, who are you fighting against? Are you fighting against the person who's currently winning? Is that worth that trade-off? Are you possibly locking them in for an even stronger win? Are you possibly working together with other players to take down somebody who got a little bit too big for their britches? Meanwhile, past the worker placement spots themselves, you can go to their buildings. Congratulations, you have a building earning 38 income a turn. I don't know if there's one that earns 38. There's all kinds of numbers. I think there's a 36 one somewhere. But you can go ahead and enjoy your 36 income building, but my cowboy is currently sitting there collecting taxes from the various people of that building, and I'm taking half your income unless you come fight me off. And then meanwhile, you can go ahead and take other actions to earn more guns or manpower so you can go ahead and have a stronger result in the various shootouts you engage in. There's so much going on here, but it has resulted in being consistently one of my favorite worker placement experiences because it provides an extra level of interactivity compared to what a worker placement game typically does. Check out Carson City if you haven't done so yet. It is, I can't say you won't regret it, you might, but I mean, I think it's amazing. That is our number 85. Coming in at number 84, I'm just making sure I'm doing this right over here because I can't count. 90, 89, 87, 86, 85. Did I do this right? How many games do I have on the table? I have 5 games. 90, 89, 88, 87, 86, 85. Coming in at number 85, I don't know exactly what I did wrong over here, but coming in at number 85, we have Canvas. Canvas, definitely not one that's been here for 10 years, I can tell you that, certainly. In fact, the rest of these have all not been 10-year games. But coming in at number 85, Canvas is a game that the first time I played it, I was like, this is cute, I like it, it's a cute little thing, but it's a little bit too light for me. But it has grown on me consistently ever since then. It is a game that I've consistently appreciated more and more as I've played this game because it combines both excellent combination point scoring together with a visual aesthetic that makes this game very compelling for both newcomers to board games. Someone who has never played a game before in their life will probably have fun playing Canvas. And someone who has played a decent amount of games in their life will probably have fun playing Canvas. And a game that can do both of those things that well deserves a spot in, well, I wouldn't say anyone's collection, but your collection probably. You see, Canvas is all about overlaying clear acrylic cards to create a modern masterpiece, a work of art as you create different things. There's going to be a little balloon here and a little young girl here sitting on a wall there, and boom, now you have your own little portrait on a colorful background. You've created a work of art. It also comes with like a little cute little name, so it could be like, you know, Young Despair, or I don't know, Floating Exuberance. You'll have these cute little names that will combine in order to make your work of art. But alongside that kind of thematic element that immerses new and old players alike, there's also a mechanical element where each card on the bottom has certain symbols, and you have certain point scoring combination cards that are giving you the things you're vying for in the game, the things you're attempting to do, trying to do, as you try to figure out the right combination of cards and symbols that will fulfill the various scoring objectives. That ultimately results in a game that is both compelling for any number of players, any variety of players. Speaking of any number of players, it plays 1 to 5 pretty decently. I think it's better in the 3 to 5 player range, but it plays well at 2, and I haven't actually played the solo mode, but it plays well at 2, and it plays well at 5 as well. It just gives you that kind of mass appeal to a board game that makes this one of my go-to recommendations for any gateway game. Highly recommend checking out Canvas. It's an excellent one. From there we move on to our number 84. 84 is going to be the largest box on the table, to the point that I only brought the lid. It's also arguably the newest. I think it might be the newest. I think so. It depends if you count when I played the prototype or when I got the final game. Because if you count the prototype, Cuzco might be the newest. Maybe. I'm not sure. Either way, this one over here is Agemonia. Coming in at our number 84, Agemonia to me provides an excellent an excellent campaign game experience that manages to immerse you in the story and, more importantly, the kind of way the game gives you these options of how to explore. You see, when you dive into any single scenario in Agemonia, you have this book you're going to be opening, it gives you a map, and then it's up to you to try to choose who you want to interact with, what you want to interact with, and those choices will have consequences. Do you go look at that thing over there, flip a card face up, and see what's behind it? Do you walk over to the counter and there's an innkeeper behind it, but you don't necessarily have the time or bandwidth to actually talk to them? Or are you looking through a glass gate, a glass door somewhere, and you're trying to figure out what's on the other side because you can see there's a card to interact with, you just don't necessarily know what it does until you make the time, effort, energy to get there. Along the way, it does have typical dungeon crawler elements where you are going to be facing off against various baddies. I think the combat itself in the game is a little on the lighter side. The action selection system is pretty basic and straightforward, but the way the game manages to give you this kind of story that you're unlocking and going through makes Agemonia a delightful experience that I am still in the middle of going through this game. I haven't actually done a full review on this because it's still at that point where it's still uncovering, it's still unlocking. I think that for me, I try to only review campaign or legacy games, anything in that genre, when I feel the game has stopped giving me new things, and the game is still giving me new things. So Agemonia, a delightful dungeon crawler / campaign game, more of a story-based game, but definitely with elements of combat, mixing it all together. That's going to be my number 84. Coming in at number 83, we have Radlands. Radlands is still delightful to this day. Radlands is a 2-player game that's going to give you just incredibly tight combat as you play through this experience, as you try to just draw cards, combine your unique bases that you're going to start with, and then try to take down your opponent's 3 bases. The game gives you a lot of clever card play. It's designed by, I think, an ex-Magic the Gathering professional, maybe just a Magic the Gathering professional player, I don't know the exact terminology, but basically it gives you a lot of choice as far as when do you play a card, when do you show your hand, when do you hold things in reserve for that epic try to go in for the kill, how do you manage getting things out there to protect yourself and attack your opponent, versus making sure you always have enough to go ahead and take those extra actions, or when your entire row gets cleared, that you have enough to make sure you are still standing, able to protect your bases. It is a race to destroy your opponent's 3 bases. It will eventually end with someone losing the game, but along the way there's a lot of clever card play utilizing a shared deck. You're going to be drawing from a shared deck over there, so there's no deck building in this game, there's no trying to buy cards. It's simple, get the cards. There's an expansion that gives you a bunch of new bases, the Maximum comes something else. The Radlands new bases expansion, I don't remember what it's called, but it's going to give you more bases to the game, and the bases are highly different, giving you slightly different ways that you have your own little advantage in the game. I think Radlands is delightful. I recommend Radlands, and it's my number 83. My number 82 is one that's been around for quite some time. Again, I don't think 10 years, but maybe somewhere in that range. That's Bunny Kingdom from Yellow. Bunny Kingdom is an excellent area control game designed by Richard Garfield. Speaking of Magic the Gathering, designed by Richard Garfield over here. Bunny Kingdom gives you an area control game where you're basically playing on a 10x10 grid. Not really abstract. There's all these different like castles and forests and carrots and all these things. Then if you have the expansion, there's all kinds of glittery, fantastical things in the sky. But effectively, you are fighting for area control and for the various resources that the game will generate. You see, as you have these resources, you're trying to create these fiefdoms where you have these little bunnies, you have these little towers, you have different resources being produced, and you earn these points every single round across 4 rounds. Meanwhile, there's a ton of other ways to get points. There's going to be these scrolls that you're trying to get that will give you other ways to score points, and the game is a drafting game, which means every round you're trying to draft actual locations on the board for the area control element, making sure you have linked passageways between your bunnies, various castles and upgrades that will help you actually score more points, various extra resources that will give you deluxe unique resources, various scrolls that will give you more ways to score points. And so every round you're trying to figure out which are the cards that are most impactful and most helpful for your engine amongst a ton of cards that are always compelling in so many different ways. I like drafting the most when drafting makes you agonize over not just what you're taking, but what you're about to hand to your opponent, and Bunny Kingdom gives that to you in spades. It is incredibly accessible as far as it's a lighter weight game. It's like just shy of medium weight, I'd say, but it gives you a lot to think about and a lot to do and a lot to weigh up as you play through Bunny Kingdom over here. That's going to be Bunny Kingdom from Yellow, from Richard Garfield, our number 82, right? I think so. 81. 81 is going to be another newer-ish one to the list, and that is Beast. Beast from Studio Midhall is an incredible hidden movement game where you play either as the hunters or the beast. This game also has drafting and also gives you that delightful tension of what am I about to utilize and what am I about to hand to my opponent, because it's a bunch of hunters. It's one versus many. It's a bunch of hunters versus a single beast. both sides being highly asymmetric. Each hunter has their own tableau of abilities, the beast has a massive tableau of abilities, and you're trying to figure out which beast you're going to play as, which hunter you're going to play as, and then how you're going to actually, which scenario you're going to go through, and how you're going to try to win that scenario. Along the way, the beast is trying to remain hidden while it accomplishes goals, and the hunters are trying to move around the board, pouncing on the beast, who occasionally has to rear his head just because he has to go ahead and eat a sheep somewhere, and suddenly the hunters know where they are because they hear that desperate bleeding in the background. The hunters go chase the beast down, but the beast may still be there, it may not be, it may be fighting, it may be running. You don't really know what the beast is doing, but you're trying to utilize your cards, your abilities at your disposal to take them down. Meanwhile, you're drafting cards every single round. Those cards are going to have two different sides, one for the hunter, one for the beast. So you're trying to decide which ability do I want to take that'll help me as whatever side you're playing as, and what card am I about to pass to my opponents who will use that card to beat me down into submission. That's the problem with the game, because everything you don't take is a tool for your opponent, so you kind of know what you're offering them up on a silver platter, but you do need to make decisions and choices along the way. You combine highly asymmetric roles, highly asymmetric missions, a ton of abilities on both sides, with a bunch of cards that you're heavily drafting from, and you're left with an excellent hidden movement game that is Beast from Studio Midhall, a fantastic hidden movement game that I highly recommend. And that is our second list video in the top 100 games of all time as of 2024. This is our 90 through 81, and we'll be back actually tomorrow, I think. If things go as planned, I think tomorrow we're going to take a break from the top 100, and there'll be a little gift guide just in time for the hospitals going up, a top 10 gift ideas video, and then after that, we'll be right back with our top 100 throughout the rest of the week. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.